What's up, everybody? It's Darksydephil again. So I'm going to start off this video by saying I know I've made a bit of noise about a video that I'm really excited about, that I'm working on in the background, and I kept referring to it as my next video. I want to point out that is not this video. I happened to come across an idea, I should say, a comment specifically on one of my previous videos that really kind of set me off and got me interested in talking about another subject. So that video that I'm super excited about, still coming. This is just a little bit of something for you guys to chew on in the meantime. So, as I'm sure you saw from the title of the video, I want to talk about learning positivity from DSP. Life is tough, especially as an adult. That's no excuse or no surprise, I should say, to anyone. Any average, well-adjusted person, or even a maladjusted person who might be listening to this can tell you that. And it's really easy to sort of focus super duper hard on the negative and to fall down that rabbit hole to a point where everything is just miserable all the time. But one of the things that I found really interesting and oddly helpful in the past 5 or so years of engaging with all of this DSP nonsense is the fact that I can kind of use him as a benchmark to sort of gauge whether or not I should or should not do certain things, or whether or not certain things that I might feel an instinctive desire to do or say are actually positive contributions in a given situation. I've also actually used him as an example to other people, at least have like a passing knowledge of who he is and sort of his reputation and his place on the internet, to kind of tell them, hey, don't be a DSP. I mean, that's the reason that phrase has been thrown around a lot, especially lately. I've been noticing more and more people using it, saying, don't be a DSP, or if you do something like that, you'll be a DSP. And I'm sure that's something that's been bandied about for quite a while, but that's just something that I've noticed being said more and more. But it's funny because I think, obviously, if you've listened to all of my videos up to this point, I am very interested in not only a lot of the sort of subtleties or unspoken truths of existing in the vortex, but in a lot of ways I'm more interested in sort of the vortex itself, the community that we've created, how we all interact with each other, how we interact with DSP, how he kind of, as Shinko puts it, catalyzes everything that we do. And I just, one of the things I've noticed that I kind of adore is how I can learn positivity from DSP simply by looking at him as the template of just every wrong decision. He is sort of the end result if you make all of the negative side decisions, or evil decisions, if you will, in one of those video games that allows you to choose between good and evil on every single thing. If it's a Mass Effect, or I think Fable does it anyway. You know what I'm talking about. Infamous. Any of those games that allow you to do that, he is kind of like the character that you're left with when the credits roll in one of those games if you make every single absolutely awful decision. So he kind of becomes this benchmark when you're thinking about how you're interacting with somebody, or whether or not you want to put a certain thought or a sentiment out on social media, whether or not you want to say something in a video, whether or not you want to say something in a live stream. I find myself just stopping and going, is this something Phil would do? Is this a decision Phil would make? I even have, as I brought up before, I have my significant other who is a streamer, and she's had situations before where she's come to me and said, I thought about doing X thing, or saying X thing, or I need to address something in my stream, and I thought about saying X to sort of address this situation. And I've actually stopped her and said, well, that sounds an awful lot like a DSP thing. That sounds like you sound an awful lot like a DSP when you say that. And she knows almost nothing about Phil other than just listening to me like shout shit at her. But she knows enough to know that when I say that, that's kind of like it's just my opinion, but it's me telling her, you might not necessarily want to do that. And it's sort of a subtle thing about this community, the vortex, the detractor sphere, whatever you want to call it, that I think we all pretty much do, maybe we just don't openly acknowledge. He's just a big template for what not to do. And I find myself in my daily life just asking all the time, is this something Phil would do? Is this the reaction he would have to a situation? And, you know, I fail. I fail at it sometimes. The other night, I was finally giving Battlefield 2042 a try because I'm a big Battlefield fan from back in the days of like Bad Company 2 through Battlefield 4. Like, those were my Battlefield. And I think that the franchise has kind of fallen off a cliff. And again, as usual, I think that's about the coldest take ever. I really wanted this game to be good, and I let it sit. And now that they've made it free to play on EA Play, I was like, hell, I'll give it a shot. So I'm sitting there playing 2042. And it's frustrating for so many different reasons. I'm getting mad, I'm getting angry, and I actually stopped after like a good 15 minutes of just being really frustrated. I stopped, I set the controller down, and I was like, you know what? Continuing to do this and being this pissed off and all this shit I'm manufacturing in my mind about why this isn't working or why I'm getting my ass kicked. I was like, you know what? I'm just not good at this game. Whether the game is good or not, I'm just not good at it. I'm not playing very effectively, and sitting here making all these excuses and getting mad is such a fucking DSP thing, and I'm sitting here doing it, and so I cut myself off. I recognized the bad behavior, and I stopped, I shut the game off, and I started playing something else. And that's just, you know, obviously one case study, but it's just something that I've taken to doing all the time, and I found it kind of interesting. So I felt like talking about it. Plus, I had another doodle, as you saw there, 6-star Colonel Sanders that I had recorded, and you know, I just thought it might be fun to strap a video to it. Obviously, this is this is not as innately tied to the content of the video some of the ones I've done earlier, but you know, sometimes you just want to put a drawing out into the world, and sometimes you just want to put a thought out into the world, and this is what I got. So this is what you get. So thank you guys very much, as always, for listening, for watching. And you know what? Let me know down in the comments some of the shit that you kind of look at and say to yourself, like, I don't want to do that because that's a DSP thing. Or if you even just caught yourself saying, I'd be a DSP if I did that. Or if you called somebody else out for being a DSP. I think there'd be a lot of fun to be had just from reading your thoughts on that. So thank you guys very much as usual, and we will catch you on the next one. Later.